Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and get started here this morning. We've got an activity we're going to start out with this morning to kind of see if we can jumpstart our brains and get going here this morning. And welcome back. My name's Todd O'Hare. I'm the president and CEO of the Montana Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to come and be with us for the Montana Chamber of Commerce annual meeting and for the Montana Manufacturing Association combined event with the Montana Chamber. Entrepreneurship is one of the 4 strategic pillars that was identified by business leaders in 2016 to focus the Chamber and the work that we do. And so it was recognized that, Montana's leading edge as an entrepreneurial state is something that we shouldn't take for granted, and that it's something that probably won't happen by accident, and that it was important for the Montana Chamber of Commerce to kind of put some additional effort in that and trying to promote and support the entrepreneurial spirit of individuals in the state of Montana. And so we went out and we found a national program out of Wichita, Kansas called Youth Entrepreneurs. And we brought it to Montana in 2017. And Youth Entrepreneurs is a program that is designed to instill that entrepreneurial thinking in high school students. And so we've recognized that, you don't start entrepreneurs when they're in their 20s or in their 30s. You start that thinking when they're in high school and earlier. And so we brought Youth Entrepreneurs to Montana because it does instill that entrepreneurial thinking. And then along the way, we also discovered that the Youth Entrepreneurs program is teaching some of those basic employability skills, or the more commonly known for a lot of us as those soft skills. We're seeing that that's being taught with that as well. And those are the skills like critical thinking that employers say is lacking in the workforce today or for applicants for their business, problem solving, taking responsibility for your own decisions, showing up to work on time, right? Putting your cell phone down, some of those sort of skills that I think most of us take for granted, but we recognize that it's increasingly lacking in applicants that are looking for jobs today. And so this Youth Entrepreneurs program not only is instilling that critical thinking, which is necessary, and problem solving, which is necessary for being an entrepreneur, but it's also an important part of what employers identify as important for their employees. So when we started in 2017, we started out with, I think, 6 or 7 teachers teaching youth entrepreneurs. And by the time we concluded the school year this last spring, we had over 53 teachers teaching YE across the state. And so our goal is to expand the Youth Entrepreneur program into every high school in Montana. And as part of that effort, this summer I hired Tiana Yates. And Tiana Yates is a high school teacher in Colstrip. And she was also teaching Youth Entrepreneurs program in high school for her students there in Colstrip. And so I hired her to help us expand the Youth Entrepreneur program, particularly to eastern and rural Montana, and particularly focused on those career and technical education classes. And Tiana would be here today in person, except that she called me on Saturday morning and said, I just had my baby and her first child. So Tiana is going to Zoom in instead, and she's going to help us go through this exercise that we're going to be doing here for youth entrepreneurs, to give you all an example of how this curriculum is taught in classes. I encourage Tiana, since she just had a baby on Saturday, to take time off. I don't want you to get the idea that this is part of a slave driving sort of outfit that we're running at the Montana Chamber, but she says the baby is great and she feels wonderful and she's very enthusiastic about this program. And so she's going to help us go through this project here. Matt Olson, our Director of Network Development, is going to be leading it here in person. And so kind of like with everything that's gone on in COVID, we're having to continue to pivot and adjust and be flexible. And so this is going to be one of the ways that we're going to adjust and be flexible as Tiana's joined by Zoom and Matt's going to lead the exercise here. So Matt, why don't I turn it over to you and you can walk us through this program.
So as Todd mentioned, this Youth Entrepreneurs Program is an activity-based learning curriculum. And Todd talked a lot about about it getting it into the high schools. We're also seeing a big demand for it in the junior high schools as well, because we're hearing from business leaders that they'd actually like us to get to the students even earlier. Tiana's done a great job of expanding it into some rural junior highs. You know, the Rapplejays of the world where it's K through 12 all under the same building, and the teachers are teaching it even below some of the junior high levels. So we're really getting to those students earlier and teaching them those soft skills that Todd mentioned. There's hundreds of activities. The Wichita organization has a team of PhDs that work on this all the time, and it starts out with 14 core activities, of which one of them is the vacant lot that we're going to go through today. All right. And you'll see there in those green boxes, Youth Entrepreneurs has foundational principles that the whole curriculum is based on. And today, through the vacant lot activity, these are the foundational principles that they've identified that you'll understand a little bit more once we go through the debrief. But we're looking at, be a principled entrepreneur. One of the jokes is drug dealers are entrepreneurial also, but they're not principled. So it's really teaching a lot of those the values that we as the chamber would like to see in the future generation of workers, as well as you as business leaders looking to hire in those students. So as we go through here today, there's going to be a video that you're going to watch, and then we're going to run you through an activity with the paper on your tables there. But the first thing is to think about while you're watching this video. Tiana, am I doing this right?
Yep, you're doing great.
Okay. So the words on the slide here, we're trying to shift the way that students look at their communities from a problem mindset to an opportunity mindset. You'll see in the video that there's a resemblance between what these students are seeing in their communities and the problems that they think they're facing as well. And through YE and through this curriculum, we're trying to empower these students to understand that they have the ability to change what they see around them, that they're not stuck with their environment and where they are. They have an ability to do something for their communities. Tiana, what else did we want them to be thinking about while they're watching this video?
Yeah, so as you go through watching this video, think about the things you're hearing and feeling and seeing while you watch it. This video won't be a community you recognize, but something that helps is if you even close your eyes and visualize maybe the way you get to work in the morning, or a street that you're constantly walking down that has a lot of things that make you feel something, or you're seeing a lot of different things that you feel could be changed and stuff that could be added to add value to your community to help yourself and also others. And then think about also what the problem is and why it exists.
All right. Thank you.
Kyla, you better get going. You're gonna be late.
Fine, I'm going.
Be careful.
I wish these walls had some art on them. Like, real art. Nobody cares about this neighborhood. I wish someone would clean this place up.
place is so boring. This place sucks. I can't wait to get out of this town.
Let's go!
Hey, sorry. Man, she's always in a bad mood. I don't blame her. I think it's this town. Puts everyone in a bad mood.
Hold on for a second, I'll be right back.
Hey, wasn't that the pizza place Mom used to take us to?
Yeah, that place shut down a long time ago.
This whole place shut down a long time ago.
Okay, Tiana.
Okay, so can anybody, or did anyone have anything they wanted to share about something they saw, heard, or felt while watching that video?
Tom.
Yeah, I saw so much, they're obviously a much bigger city, but it's so similar to so many rural Montana towns in the past 20 years that have seen the face of retail on Main Street change, and it become very, very difficult for retailers to survive in Main Street, rural America. And you go down these streets of so many of these cool little towns, and a lot of prime retail space on Main Street is vacant. And you look at it and you think, what could you trend? Oh, thank you, Bridger. What could you, I don't know, Tiana, did you hear any of that?
Yeah, I was
Good.
hearing it. You're good.
Okay, just, for those that couldn't, the fact that in rural Main Street, Montana especially, but America, it's so difficult to retail anymore, and I've been so thankful that in my career I'm not trying to sell local on the things that we manufacture, but realizing that times are changing and the face of business has to transition to what is going to provide a living and a successful business in these rural areas. So yeah, looking at that, I'm seeing so many of these little towns you drive by with empty storefronts.
Good, very good. That's more than I get out of my high school students. No, but they do start drawing some parallels. So does someone else have one more thing they want to share about what they heard, felt, or saw?
We got one over here, Tiana.
Good morning. Thank you for presenting that. Two quick thoughts. One, barriers. Tough to engage with the community when fences, no way to interact, a lot of barriers there. And then the last thought I had was, if our generation doesn't care, the next generation won't care either. They'll just go somewhere else.
They're very good. And those are, I think you guys kind of pulled out stuff you were feeling and that emotional side of things, as well as the problems that are illustrated and why they're existing. And so I'm not sure if Matt pulled up the slide, but just from the classroom perspective as well, when we're doing this with students, they actually, the more they talk and engage, they start to see that striking resemblance between the problems these vacant lots represent and the problems facing themselves as students, schools, and communities, which is exactly what you guys pulled into it as well. So that is going to, let's see, Matt, do you have anything to add before we move on to the next thing?
Nope.
Awesome. Okay, so you guys are in tables, and so your table is going to be your group that you're going to be working with. As you can see, you guys have a large piece of paper and some markers. And so your goal, we are going to show you 4 different vacant lots or buildings that currently exist in Billings right now. And they're all in the downtown area, which is where you guys are located. So you can kind of connect with what you're working on right now. Your table's goal is to illustrate a solution that will transform your community by overcoming these barriers you guys mentioned, recognize some opportunities, take responsibility, and just transform the community and do something that's going to add value for yourself as someone living in this community. Put yourself in the shoes of that person in the video or that person living in downtown Billings that's seeing some of these vacant lots, and others. Really pull on that empathy side of things. Are there any questions before I continue explaining?
Just to hold on, so just to confirm, so you're going to choose one of these 4 vacant buildings or vacant lots, and you're going to use the paper and the pens in front of you with the group at the table to ideate and think about how you would transform one of these vacant lots into something new. That can be a revenue generating idea. It can be a social benefit to the community. But Tiana will give you a couple more pointers, I hope, here in a second. But the first thing as a table is to choose whether you'd like to transform the Second Chance Avenue, the Lot of Opportunity, the Grizz Dome, only because it was Grizz colors. I don't know what it actually is. And the Roxy
Hotel. Something
Hotel.
else if you want.
I like the Grizz Dome. Or the Roxy Hotel. Tiana, do you have more instructions for them on what to do in their groups with the paper?
Yep, so what you'll do is at the top, you're going to just write which one you're going to be working on, just so we know. And then from there, you're going to kind of sketch out an idea maybe. Maybe you're just going to make a list of what you want that building to turn into. You can give it a new name. Really explain to us what it is you're turning this vacant lot into and why. I want to know like what the purpose of that is. And then I think we're going to give you about 10 minutes. Is that right, Matt?
Yep, you'll have 10 minutes for this piece of the exercise.
So after those 10 minutes, we're going to have 2 or 3 tables share what they did. So you're going to actually have to hold up your paper and explain to us what it is you did and why. And so be prepared to do that at your tables as well. Any questions? Oh, yep. I see a hand.
So, I don't know where any of these places are, which is kind of important if you're thinking about how or what to do in a place. Are they all like in right downtown Billings, or?
They are. These are all within, like, I would say a 2-mile radius of the DoubleTree.
Okay.
Anything else?
10 minutes. Talk amongst yourselves. If you're not at a table with a piece of paper, please feel free to get up and move. This can be as small or large groups as you'd like. Okay. I hope you've all been able to come up with some really exciting, innovative ideas for your vacant lot. So we're gonna move into the next piece of this activity, which in the classroom, right, you would all be sitting at tables with your peers of your high school or your junior high school students. This is exactly the way that over 100 YE teachers across the state of Montana are running this activity. Tiana's got more experience than me, so I'm going to let her begin to prompt you for, never mind, she's gone.
I'm right here. I was grabbing my own bookmark.
Okay, Tiana, I think we're ready if we want to ask for share-outs. Do you have something to prompt that?
Yeah, so if you guys would just take like 2 minutes max, if one person from your group would stand up, hold up, well, if there's anything interesting to hold up on your thing, and just explain to us what lot you chose and a little explanation of that.
Kelly and Bob Lauer.
I'm the easels. She's in the top.
Okay.
So.
Could you turn it around and show us a little bit?
Ooh, I like it. Oh, very nice. I like the visual. Thank you.
So we chose the lot of opportunity, and we are very excited to put together some, basically a park in that space. We thought we would have a lot of green space, a lot of green trees and areas for people to sit, some benches, a stage for live music and other poetry and outdoor movie. We talked about some great lighting around a path through the park, skate and ice rink, great lighting all over the park so that it was very visible, and opportunities for kids, slide area, park. We talked about a hill so that people could sit on the hill and watch the music and on the stage. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just
We're
ask
excited
real quick.
about it.
You mentioned lighting a couple of times. Why were you saying lighting so much and well lit in this park?
So it's safety, because if you're going to have youth there and you want to be able to see things, and we would put some security cameras, that's things to monitor it some way with the local authorities. Because
perfect.
Some parks can, turn into different things, and you just want to make sure it's controlled.
Mm-hmm. I love how you guys thought through all aspects of that. You weren't just like, it's a park. You thought of like the actual details and how you can keep it sustainable.
Yeah, and farmers markets and events and little things like that draw people to help support it financially as well.
And just a better space for it, since there's not like a designated space like that downtown yet. Like that. Perfect. Okay. Very nice.
Thank you. Okay, we have one for the Roxy Hotel.
All
Tiana?
right.
Okay, we had the Roxy Hotel, and we would like to tell you what we are going to do with it, but we will not because we are going to, no, I'm just kidding. We're going to keep it the Roxy. We're going to start with the basement, hoping that there actually is a basement. And for there, we're going to have that as a wine cellar that can be used for small events such as anniversaries and whatnot, a private, intimate little area. The first floor is going to have a speakeasy theme with custom cocktails and dinner. If anybody's been to White Sulphur, we're kind of using that as our muse there. And it'll have music for stage, live events, and historical Billings theme throughout. And then the second floor is going to be a high-end vacation rental with 2 to 3 rentals in that 20s, 30s Billings glam.
Wow, I love that. I really like that you added a little bit of an event space in there, because I do feel like that's something, especially smaller event spaces, we are lacking some of that in downtown. So very nice.
Thank you.
So, go ahead. Okay, so one quick question before Matt shows the second video. I noticed that everyone either used the Law of Opportunity or the Roxy, which is awesome. Did anyone have any similar ideas, and you could just raise your hand, yes or no, to what the two people presented, or were they all totally different?
Any similarities? Yeah, quite a few similarities on the Law of Opportunity. How about on the
Okay.
We had something different on the lot of opportunity.
Okay, we got one more for the Law of Opportunity.
Good, yeah, go ahead.
So I am sitting at a table with 2 very creative bankers. Don't laugh. So what we talked about was a lot of opportunity that would actually be a mixed-use project. It would include a child care co-op on the ground level, and we'd have some underground parking, so we wouldn't have some issues there. And then a really important part of this would be having buy-in from 4 key private sector partners that were currently experiencing or are currently experiencing this pain point with childcare in terms of enabling their workforce. And we think that's really important to ensure the long-term sustainability of that project, right? And then, yeah, I think that's it. I'm sorry, I forgot. Workforce housing, upper levels. All right, thanks.
Nice. So something I just want to point out real quick with theirs. Oh yeah, good job. I really appreciate the empathetic side of that, and that's something when we're in the classroom, as students continue to think about this and hear their peers' ideas, you really start to feel that empathy piece be pulled out of students when, you know, some are thinking movie theaters, drive-ins, but then you really start to see the gears turning as they're watching this video and thinking about their own community, like what do we really need? So that childcare co-op that's awesome. So I loved everyone's ideas though. Thank you so much. I'll let Matt show that second video.
What if we opened our own restaurant? I bet my sister could help me out.
Maybe I can actually do something with this place. The net over there, bleachers over there.
What if I use this place to show my art? I bet some of my friends could show their art too. I can make this happen.
How hard can it be?
I can do this.
All right, so something that is one of the core things with the Youth Entrepreneurs Program is act first, talk about it later. So you guys already did the activity with just a little bit of guidance from me, but you guys kind of got to run the show, which is exactly what we want to see out of the students in the classroom too, to get their thoughts and their ideas. I don't want them to have my ideas. And so after we do all that, then we do the debrief and ask the questions and really try to gear towards what we were trying to learn about in each activity. So we are going to run through some debrief questions with you guys. So same format, I'll ask the question and they can just run the mic around to you for you guys to answer. So our first question is, why is it important to consider the needs of the community before generating a solution for the vacant lot?
The questions are up on the screen too, Tiana, all 5 of them.
Perfect.
Anybody want to answer?
I think you can't just build it and they'll come. You have to understand what the need is and then fulfill the need. Then they will come.
Yes, very muchly so. Does anyone else have anything to add to that one?
Good morning. So I think that oftentimes it's really easy to come up with great ideas, but if you don't think about what is the problem, then the solution, and then the opportunity, you could be creating a lot of great ideas that don't actually solve problems. And then in turn, what is at the top of the list for the community today versus what's going to be at the top of the list next year or in 5 years or in 10 years?
Yes, exactly. And I know we'll be talking about these foundational principles, but that's definitely, you have to use your knowledge when you are thinking about these things and trying to create new opportunities, because if you're just going by what you like, then that's not necessarily going to be helpful or successful even. So great, you guys nailed that one. Okay, so number 2, how is it creating a solution that helps solve the needs of your community, demonstrating passion?
Oh, sorry, I thought you were waving to me for the mic. Oh, okay. Just looking for anybody, right? Yeah, we'll go over here.
I think with just one word, it's just engagement. When you got engagement, you have passion.
Exactly. Very good.
I think that, it's demonstrating passion, because if it's something that you can find a solution for, then you'll be passionate about it, right? It's kind of tapping into what your personal passions would be and then aligning it with what the community needs are.
Yes, so good.
Yeah.
And so just to kind of gear this kind of like then now what a student would be feeling, then they start understanding, what passion actually means and what that can look like on a higher level, which is kind of neat as we're having these questions. Okay, number 3. Why is it important to remember to use sound judgment when brainstorming solutions? And so before you answer that one, I'm going to read to you what sound judgment is, because when I say sound, and I mean, you guys probably do all know, I'll just read you the YE definition, because when I say sound judgment, a lot of the students will be like, oh, it means making a good decision. But we know it means a little more than that. It's using economic thinking to create the greatest benefit while using the least resources. So think about that as you give me some answers for number 3.
Why is it important to remember to use sound judgment when brainstorming solutions? The most benefit with the least resources. Tom Spica?
Well, I beat you. I just think that, you got a room full of business people here, and obviously if you're going to have a sustainable venture, you have to make it financially viable, but you also have to be sure it is truly addressing that need that's within the community. It's going to be something that is considered valuable and is utilized. So you have to do a lot of research into what the community does feel, and what can you justify as far as at least making it self-sustaining, not necessarily a profit center, but it's going to try and pay for the most of itself. And that all is wrapped up into that sound judgment, I think, and how much can we afford to invest in this so we just don't fall flat on our face. Up to you.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to talk about, is the sustainability of the project. And I mean, even if it's not a for-profit venture like a park or something like that, if you get buy-in from the community, it demonstrates the value of the project and hopefully sparks other projects down the road because it demonstrates its success.
Good, exactly. Does anyone else have anything to add to that one?
Let's go number 4.
Awesome. Okay. So, how are opportunity mindset and win-win focus related? So, win-win focus, cooperation creates real value in society for yourself and others. So, how are those related?
Number 5.
Okay. Can you have opportunity mindset without using win-win focus? So, can you really want to create opportunities for others without having that win-win focus?
Ron Slingers volunteered.
Perfect.
Yeah. I think I'm a huge fan of doing environmental scanning and understand. So we were at a lot of opportunity. First thing I wanted to do is understand what's around us within the 3-block area, what's the need of that area. And I think that opportunity mindset of creating something that is a win-win, even if it's a for-profit venture, at least I'm producing something and putting something and placing there that is actually something that's going to benefit those around, plus it's going to benefit me because my business is going to thrive in that scenario. So I think I absolutely believe you can have the win-win occur for the local community and also for the business itself.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so good. So I just have one quick tidbit to share, and then I'll let Matt finish with his slides, explaining a little more. So when I was doing this with my students last year, there was one really cool class where this debrief really came into play because in the classroom, we actually have students go and vote on which one they feel would be the best for the community, and there's essentially a winner, even though everyone's ideas were valuable. I like a little healthy competition. We didn't have time for that today, but there were 2 girls who really don't speak up very much, and they're pretty quiet. And so in the classroom, we had drive-in movie theaters being suggested, and restaurants and bowling alleys, and we're talking the community of coal strip lame deers where they were trying to implement these things. Well, we have these 2 students who lived in Lame Deer, and they don't have a rec center or anything along those lines. They have to come to Colstrip to our rec center. And so their idea was to have this rec center located in Lame Deer, and they actually backed it up. They said, we have to come to Colstrip. It's about 20, 25 miles. There's deer on the road. It's not safe, especially in the winter. But we want to hang out with our friends too. We want to come play basketball. We want to do all these things. So we think that this would be good for the community of Lame Deer. So even with all of the different ideas in the classroom with bowling alleys and movie theaters and those things, every single student voted for those girls to be the essential winners of this, because they saw the value and the potential and how it wasn't just like a fluff idea. They really saw how they needed to consider the needs of the community, and they knew the needs of that other community. So you guys as business leaders and adults already have that higher level of thinking, but it's so neat to watch that being pulled out of high school students. And I mean, we're talking 9 through 12. These aren't just like our seniors. And so just a really cool thing to see actually happen in a room full of adults, but also a room full of students. So thank you guys so much for participating.
Thank you, Tiana. I have just a couple more slides here to wrap this up. We've talked a lot about the soft skills. We've talked a lot about the critical thinking, the social emotional learning. This curriculum is ticking a lot of boxes for what the Chamber believes is a way to solve the biggest workforce readiness challenge that we have in this state. You're all business leaders, you know this. But as Tiana just articulated, all the curriculum finds a way to pull in these types of things to incentivize the students to display those behaviors that we hear lacking the most. And Tiana also mentioned the foundational values. And you just went through a number of these through the debrief questions. This is what the curriculum is based on. And we believe as the Chamber of Commerce that these are important to instill in the next generation. What's your favorite one, Todd? I like responsibility. Take responsibility for your own life. No one will ever be as concerned about your success as you. Freedom. Respect the rights of others and study the links between freedom, entrepreneurship, and societal well-being. And we did a little unofficial poll of our board of directors, it must have been a year ago now, and win-win focus came back as the most popular one amongst our board members when we asked them to choose one. Cooperation creates real value in society for yourself and others. We've now got this curriculum in over 100 schools across the state. This is part of our Envision 2026 initiative, and your investments in Envision have helped us to expand this. And we'd appreciate your continued support. And that is all. Thank you all very much for participating. Thank you, Tiana. Do we have time for questions, Tiana? We're ahead of schedule.
Well, let's do it.
Let's do it. Who wants to know more about YE or these activities or how you can get YE or support YE in your community? Tom, I love you. You're always raising your hand.
I just like to hear the sound of my own voice. Now, Tiana, can you talk to us a little bit about how you prepared the instructors in this program to where you ensure that they understand the same vision? And because to an entrepreneur, these are just second nature, and we'd love to teach that to kids, but not all teachers have that. How do you help them to develop those skills and understanding so that they can effectively convey that to their kids?
Absolutely. I'd say that there's two different ways we do that. The first way is, even though from an entrepreneurial aspect, not all of these teachers necessarily are business leaders, they are all our career and technical education teachers across the state. So, and we have others as well. We're working on like our core subjects too, but the ones that are really latching on are our business teachers who do teach entrepreneurship, intro to business, those types of classes. Our agriculture and welding and shop classes who all participate mostly in like the FFA and those things. So they really do understand that entrepreneurial side of things, as that's a big aspect of those. So in the CTE classroom, the big goal of that in high schools is to get students prepared to move into the workforce, to move on from high school. But on the other end of that, these are all DISC principles that we want our students to leave our classroom with anyway. It's just making them good humans. And so through the activities, even if they don't quite understand as an instructor right off the bat, the entrepreneurial side, they understand what these principles mean. And then those activities really bring out that entrepreneurial spirit, whether the teacher's trying to or not, which is really cool. And then just to get the teachers, I guess trained isn't like a great word to use, but to understand that and to be able to do this successfully, we do have professional development that they do. There's about 3.5 hours worth of that walks them through each principle specifically and gives them examples and shows them how they go along with the activities. So we really try to make sure that the teachers are, ready and engaged and are understanding what our goal is so that we get the outcome that we are aiming for. And that's part of my new position too, is I have a lot of one-on-one contact with the teachers. I just had a teacher from Glendive yesterday email me. She's a health science teacher, and they're doing like a interview skills, workforce readiness unit right now. So she said, which activities can I specifically use to help my students with these skills? So she and I worked a little bit yesterday to pair those in her classroom.
On maternity leave yesterday?
I mean, it was not yesterday. She was sleeping.
Is there an opportunity to track some of these kids who went through the program, to see them 10 years down the road, and then you build an alumni kind of association so that these are the next future teachers of these classes on the side once they become great entrepreneurs, so you can just maintain that and build off of it?
I'm going to use the prospects. I'll take it.
Okay.
Thanks, Bob. So in order to do that, we've got this high school business pitch competition that the youth entrepreneurs teachers are encouraging their students to enter and participate in. And that's really our vehicle right now for tracking the YE students versus those non-YE students and then following them along. And I'll give you a quick example. The winner of last year's, there's 2 winners last year of the Prospects High School Business Pitch Competition. The new business idea came out of Sheridan. She was a junior in high school. She won $5,000 for her windshield warmer idea. She's going to compete again this year. We're going to watch and see where she goes. The winner of the existing business was a young man from Bozeman named Jacob Keim, who has a business idea to take on Nike. He's got Kratos apparel. And Kratos is the god of strength and power, who is Nike's older brother, and they're tired of living in his little sister's shadow. Well, it's true, that's his whole pitch. He wants to go take on Nike. And he won $5,000 through the contest. He also got a scholarship to Montana State University Jake Jabs College of Business and Entrepreneurship. Jacob calls me and texts me all the time. He asks me questions randomly out of the blue, and I heard from the Blackstone Launchpad at MSU that he's always in there asking for help and how he's going to build his business. So we see the opportunity to track them and to follow their progress, and then also use them as examples to encourage the other students to participate and get involved and take these classes because of opportunities like the Prospects for them to compete in. Now, the Prospects is open to all 40,000 high school students across the state, but our youth entrepreneurs teachers are really driving the engagement in that contest. You want me to wrap it up?
I'll do one more just because we do have a couple minutes. I'm just curious, what are the obstacles to growth, if any, for youth entrepreneurs at this stage, given the success it's already had? What are you seeing could be potential challenges down the road, and how can this business community help overcome those challenges?
I got it.
Perfect.
The teachers need business leaders in the classroom. I've heard Todd say it multiple times. We've dropped our kids off at 8 a.m. We've picked them up at 3 p.m., and that was pretty much a lot of the engagement that we've had with the school for a while. We're hearing from the teachers now that in order for them, they're teachers, they're not business people. They don't know our businesses. And we need to be in their classrooms and engaging with them and talking to them and creating opportunities for our students and providing career awareness. And finding the kid that you want to hire, because now you have an opportunity to leverage your membership and your engagement with the Montana Chamber of Commerce through this program, Youth Entrepreneurs, to get right into their classrooms. And if you're interested in talking to your local schools or joining a webinar, a Zoom to talk about what you do that we can broadcast out to more than 100 schools across the state, that's what we need. In order for this to scale, the teachers need to see that the businesses are serious about coming in and talking with the kids and providing opportunities for what we call leave to learns. So Youth Entrepreneurs, part of the funding, provides the money to pay for a substitute, to pay for the transportation, and to feed the kids so that they could get in the car and drive to Laurel and go see Woods Power Grip and see what it's like to work there, for example. And if you as business leaders are open to opening your doors to this type of a thing, we know there's a hunger and a desire by the teachers to create new opportunities for the kids. So you can contact me or Tiana, and we would be happy to help. You know, even locally, even in your town, if you don't know who to talk to at the school or whatever, we'll find it. We'll do the work to get you the connection that you need to get you into that school. Good question. Thanks for the softball, Bridger. Oh, can we do one more?
So at Tow Hall, we sponsor a manufacturing day. It's always the first Friday of every October. Have you been involved in that at all? We brought in 400 students this last October 1st, mostly sixth graders, some high school students. Took them for a tour, took them for all the stations, and then described the kind of positions that we have at Tow Hall because of the manufacturing. There will be some gaps in employment coming up soon. So I just thought maybe we could tie that into what you're doing in some way.
Can I just say, did she say sixth graders?
Yeah. Yes.
See, honestly, the younger we can hit these kids and continue this through, it's not just the high school, because when we can get them in middle school too and show them what opportunities are out there, and we can help make those connections too. I mean, freshmen, the sooner the better. It's not just looking at seniors, it's following these students throughout their career in high school, and so that they know that there's so many opportunities out there, and there's not just one path, or there's more than just doctors and lawyers and teachers, which are all awesome, but it's like, what else is out there? We got to show them.
Yeah, that's great career awareness, right? I hope there was follow-up. I hope the teacher and some of those 400 students engaged and continued to learn about what opportunities are available at Tow Hall or in your industry. Whether it's the fabrication piece, the transportation piece, or what your clients are doing, the more engagement with those did you say 400 kids?
Yes, in one day.
In one day. So there's got to be 4 of them in the 400, right? I mean, thank you. Thanks for doing that. And next time you do that, we'd be happy to. Maybe you don't want to expand it a little bit, but if you wanted to do smaller ones for schools surrounding you, we can help engage with the Youth Entrepreneurs teachers. And if there isn't one, we'll find one and try to expand it into local schools too. Okay, great. Okay, I'll turn it over to Board Chair Paul Hoff. Thanks, Tiana.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Now you have to go on maternity leave. We're done. Good job.
Thank you, Matt and Tiana, for the demonstration and presentation. I've had the pleasure of sitting through about 4 of these demonstrations, and I'm always impressed with just the broadness of concepts that underlie it. Matt didn't talk about this, but he showed a slide some time ago that showed the salary levels of those that go through YE compared to those that don't. And at every level, from not completing high school all the way up through a 4-year degree, those that go through YE curriculum make, in some cases, substantially more on average. And If you look at that through the lens of a capital market, they may get paid more money because they're bringing more value to your business. So it's a very powerful program, and you can see enthusiasm Matt and Tiana have. So if you have questions about YE, are interested in helping him get this in the high schools, please see Matt today. And when Tiana's back, she's gone here now, but when she's back, please see her. They'll be more than happy to help you. Okay, moving on, we've all seen the headlines. Colonial Pipeline fell to a ransomware attack this spring that affected the fuel supply and distribution throughout the Southeast. Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn have all been victims of cybersecurity and data breaches. Cybersecurity threats aren't just related to our bigger businesses. According to a 2001 Hiscox Cyber Readiness Report, the average financial cost of cyber attacks to the U.S. small businesses are in excess of $25,000 each. Globally, the growth in cybercrime pre-pandemic cost the economy more than $2 trillion. With business now operating more remotely, the potential for cybercrime is growing very rapidly. With 4 strategies to fortify your cybersecurity, please help me welcome David Meyer and Evan Tomlin from Endpoint Utility Corp.
All right, so David Meyer, first off, did no one see I put $100 bills under the chair here in the front to sit in? No? Darn it. Well, everybody lost. I get to take it home. All right, so let's dive in here. So what I wanted to cover today, introduce you a little bit to who this person standing in front of you is and the company that I own and work for, and then talk about what is cybersecurity. It's really hard for me to make this topic fun, so I'm going to try to make it interesting. I feel like that's probably the best that I can do. But we have plenty of time. I do not have an hour's worth of content. So if you'd like to ask questions interspersed, go for it. If you'd like to wait to the end, go for it. Either way, I've given presentations for rooms of 5,000 to 6,000 people, so this is not intimidating whatsoever. Just go for it. I'm happy to make this interactive. Talk about what it is, and then what it is that you as a business owner can do right now, which we're not asking you to be a doctorate in cybersecurity, but what are the few things that you can do right now to start and help protect your business? So this, as you've probably figured out, is me. I have spent my entire almost 25-year career in and around what we call in the industry end-user computing. End-user computing is anything that has to do with what we interact with in order to get our jobs done as it pertains to technology. So your laptop, your desktop, your mobile phone, your email, all of those things are what we term end-user computing. So I have had a wonderful opportunity to work for some extremely large companies, such as Microsoft, where I worked there for about 10 years. I've also worked at a company down in Phoenix called Insight. I ran their end-user computing division, which consisted of about 1,500 employees. So I've had this wonderful opportunity to work at these really big companies, delivering IT services for other really big companies. And what I saw was this massive hole, which I'll talk about on the next slide, that exists in terms of bringing some of these capabilities to smaller companies, to true medium businesses, small businesses, et cetera. I am a resident of Whitefish. I found out what a 7-hour drive looks like yesterday. That was fun. But you know what? I and my family, of which I have 2 small girls, they're 9 and 6, we moved up to Whitefish July of 20, and I'll just do one tangent, quick story so you kind of see who we are. My mother-in-law's family is 5 generations now in Columbia Falls, I think. So we would come up to Flathead to vacation all the time. We were like, well, this is kind of dumb that we pay like a whole year's mortgage payment to rent somebody else's house every summer. So maybe we should just buy our own. So we bought our own, and apparently we're on a permanent vacation because now we live in that house permanently. and moved up from Phoenix. But we've absolutely loved the last year and a half. It was everything we thought it would be and more, and had actually a great opportunity. My father-in-law is from Big Sandy, so I've had the opportunity to go to Havre twice. So that was, I've gotten to explore a big bunch of Montana, and none of it has been bad. So that's a little bit about me. A little bit about our company. Like I kind of previewed there, our goal is, the four of us that founded it, collectively, we've spent way too long, 90 some odd years when we counted it up, in and around the end user computing space. And again, primarily in service of really large companies. And so if you have a $50, $100 million IT budget, it's amazing what you can do with IT, right? If you don't, it's a little bit more difficult. And so what we saw was, could we take all these best practices that we've accumulated, all of these products that we've spent years and years working with, and package it in a way that a small and medium business could actually consume it. And so that's what we do, right? We've done all the hard work for you, and we will bring it to you in a way that you can just pay us per user per month, and we will just take care of it for you. That's what a managed service provider does. So you can get some actual return out of the investment. So that's why we're here. That's who we are. But let's define and move into the heart of this, right? Cybersecurity. A cyber attack, I just took the Oxford definition here, right, is really, and I think this is really important because in a lot of times people don't give it the importance that it is. This is a criminal activity, right? This is unlawful entrance to your property. If somebody broke into your house, you would call the police. This is no different. Right? These people are unlawfully accessing your data, your equipment, your business. And so what we want to do is fortify our defenses there, because cybersecurity is then the state of being secure as it pertains to cyber. And the intro kind of stole my thunder here, but the most recent study of this that has been completed, it was published in December of 20. So I suspect there'll be a 21 version of this coming out in December, but they studied 2019, that's the most recent information, and just over 1% of the world's GDP was devoted to remediating all the problems that these people create. That's a lot of money, right? We could have paid for a lot of schools at that point, right? A lot of other things around the world that are in need of resources instead of paying off cyber criminals and doing work to remediate cyber problems. So I do not have the silver bullet to answer all of the world's cybersecurity woes. But again, what I hope I can convey to you is some of the steps that you can take today to get yourself in a better position so that you can be in the best state possible. So there's an organization of the federal government, the NSIT, and so they talk about the cybersecurity framework. So, and we can share the slides or feel free to take pictures of them or whatever. Found out this morning green is not the best backdrop for these projectors, so apologies for that. But the cybersecurity framework, you can take anything in your IT organization and apply this framework over the top of it, right? And so if you can check all of these boxes and say, I'll just pick one out, right? If I were to lose all my data tomorrow, I know what the recovery plan is, right? Then you're set as it pertains to recovery and that sub-bullet, right? So this is a really complex type of a scenario, but it is absolutely applicable to anything within IT. So when you're talking with whoever manages IT for your company, this is one of those you can sit at the board meeting and say, where are we at on, pick one, protective technology, right? Any one of these is a topic of conversation to have with your IT organization, and your board is probably going to want to know at some point the answer to each one of these. They may not ask it directly therein, but these are the things that are important to shoring up security. So what is a cyber attack? My first eye chart of the day. There are several. So these are the 7 most common cyber attacks that occur. You can see, I tried to highlight in green some of the more stunning statistics here as it pertains to this topic. Malware attacks are the most, that's the current popular kid at school, I guess, which is that what malware does, right, is it generally uses phishing, right? So generally, who's gotten the email that your CEO needs a gift card, right? Oh, yep. Everybody can raise their hand. Everybody's gotten that one. So what they generally do is the cyber criminals are actually utilizing multiple attacks in coordination to try to get something accomplished. Generally, what it is access to your network and to your computer systems. So again, I won't read this whole thing to you, but the most popular kid at school right now is to use a phishing attack, right? And so phishing is we send you an attachment, go get the CEO a gift card or whatever. And then by opening that attachment, oftentimes what it will do is it will then install a piece of software, malware, right? You didn't want it, right? That's why it's malicious software. It will install malware on your computer, and in doing so, it will allow the person on the other end now access to your computer, whether you want them to or not. So you're seeing these very sophisticated type of almost social science-based attacks, right? So they're, another one I love is that when it hits your inbox, it looks like a real email address, right? So it looks like a person's name or a company or, bank services or whatever, right? But then when you actually look at the email address, it's this weird string of stuff, right? And so they're using this social engineering to do everything they can to try to get you to open it so that they can install their software and do what they want to do. So that is really the most common scenario that occurs right now. But there's lots of other ones. One of our favorite ones being password spraying, right? If you just take David.Meyer at Endpoint Utility Corp and then go around to enough websites and put that in as the username and just start trying passwords, you might actually get one to work, right? But the thing about it is, which we'll talk about in terms of some of the steps to take, is that most of us, myself included, and I am in this industry, we reuse the same password, right? 'Cause then we got to remember it. And so what the bad folks are doing is, what then in coordination again is credential stuffing. So I just take that password. Once I figured out one, I just take it everywhere else I can think of, right? And sometimes I may have stolen those passwords. Like there might have been a data breach at one of the companies you have an account with, and they just stole that password, and then they go try it with every other place they can think of, right? So it's a really sophisticated type of coordinated effort that's really hard to stay in front of, but you can see how much the activity level is picking up. What I wanted to highlight, because I thought it was especially pertinent to this audience, is what's actually really scary to me, to be honest with you, is that we seem to have shifted our focus in the world of the bad guys from the really big companies to the really small companies. So I just pulled this down, which you can go to. It's a public site. It's called cyware.com. They publish every day all the releases that happened that day as it pertains to cybersecurity. I just picked these 5. They were the first 5 on last Friday when I wrote this slide. There were 35 releases last Friday. I mean, and you can just keep going back. There's thousands of them. But what was scary about this was that, an eye clinic with 6 offices, and they went in and stole all the patient data, right? And we all know what we give to our doctor because we have to, right? That's a lot of information. It was an eye clinic, right? For goodness sakes. And I'll let you read some of the other ones, but, a school district couldn't open the school year on time because all their machines were locked out. And so you just read down this list, and And so that's why it's so important that the cyber criminals have figured out that enterprises are kind of getting wind of their wares. And so now they're moving on to the soft target, right? So, and they believe that small and medium businesses and governments and school districts and things of that nature are the next softest target. So it's good to be prepared. The thing that we talk about our customers with, so now we can shift to the actual what you get out of this presentation. We talk about them in these 4 buckets. And so the security framework, as you saw from the earlier slide, is really complicated. Our goal is to kind of trim that down into what are the executable things that we can do right now to put us in a better position than we were yesterday. And so I kind of starred the ones that I'm going to just drill into for 1 second. But we talk about it along the lenses of identity and access management, right? So are you who you are supposed to be when you go in and access computer X or application Y or what have you? So it's validating that you are in fact the right person. Threat protection, right? So if you're on the computer, we want to protect you from all the things that are coming inbound, right? So what are the things that we do in that vector? Information security is then, so we want to protect the information that you work with every day. It's financial data, your accounting system, your HR system. We want to protect that from people coming in from the outside. And then finally is security management, because we need to be able to then see what's occurring, good, bad, or otherwise. One, so that we can report on it. And then hopefully it never happens, but in the event that something goes wrong, we have all the plans in place to be able to fix whatever it is that happened. And good reporting allows you to find the problem very quickly, address it, get it back to its correct state so that you can go about with your business. So drilling in, just going to pick one off of identity and access management. These get worse, by the way, in terms of an eye chart, so you're welcome. By show of hands, who has multi-factor authentication turned on for their business? That's pretty good, but we need to get that to everybody in the room, okay? So what is multi-factor authentication? If you have a username and a password, again, back to that, phishing or the password stuffing from one of the common security attacks, right? If all I need is a username and a password to access everything, then I have a better chance as a criminal, right? It's an easier point of entry than if I put on top of that what we call multi-factor authentication. And what that is, for those of you who aren't familiar, is I'm going to do some other version of authentication, like an outside validation of who you are before I allow you access to that thing. So the common and easiest way to do it, this gentleman has a key fob, which is great, right? That's a thing that only he has, right? So his computer knows when he plugs it in, this has to be him, right? A really common way to do it is you try to log on to an application, it sends a text message to your phone, you type in the code that comes from the text message, right? That's a really easy way to do that. And so what it allows you to do, and in fact, as recently as yesterday, Microsoft published an article that said the same folks that did the SolarWinds attack last year, probably the largest and most destructive one that's ever occurred, they are at it again. Like, Microsoft can see their traffic. And so Microsoft's, they can't force you to do anything, but their strong request was just turn on multi-factor authentication. So what does that do? It allows them as a security company to see, John Smith typed in the code from Billings, Montana. Therefore, the person trying to access it from some Eastern Bloc country is probably not John Smith. Therefore, we will block him. Right? It's a really easy way to get started. It's free or I shouldn't say free, it's included with a lot of the licensing that your business is probably using from either security vendors or Microsoft or Google or others. So it's a great way to get started. And I would say if you can actually step that up to biometric authentication. So Windows will actually look at your face, just like your phone does, to try to log into it. That's yet another thing where it's really tough to fake biometric from another country, right? That's almost impossible. So that is a step which, if your business hasn't implemented it, go back to talk to your IT provider, whether that's internally or externally, or we'll be happy to come and help you with it, obviously, and say, hey, I would like this turned on. That is a great first step that anybody in this room can execute. Your users may find it to be an annoyance. Your response to that is, I don't care, right? This is that important, and this is a way to start to make it harder for the bad guys. So moving on, next topic here. This is the iChart of all iCharts, so I won't read it to you. Email threat protection. So there are a number of really high quality security providers. I just picked Microsoft just because it was easy as an example, that have security capabilities that they will install on top of your email system to start to monitor this traffic. So because, the large players, the Googles of the world, the Microsofts of the world, they are seeing millions and millions of, well, they personally aren't seeing it. Their computers, their servers are seeing millions and millions of messages every single hour, right? And so they're tracking this and they have the analytics on it. So turning on email threat protection or installing an email threat protection software is, again, an easy to execute step that'll start to, again, make it that much harder. So what it will do is it will monitor the traffic and it will see, like, oh, wow, like, 3 different people reported that email as being junk. That must be a problem. Let me go scan that email. And it will do all of this hard work without the user intervention. Like, a person doesn't have to open that email and say, is this a phishing attack or is this a real email, right? The system is actually doing that for you. So it's constantly monitoring it, constantly checking for anything that might be malicious in there. And it's scanning it before it gets to your company, right? And that's the important part. In doing so, I'll tell you, like, when we turned this on at Insight, my junk email went from, probably I got a couple dozen a day because I was an executive there, and it went down to like 3 or 4 a week, right? And it's amazingly accurate at not filtering out, like, the bill from your vendor, right? Looks a lot like pay me some money. And it's amazing the artificial intelligence that they have, which is here to really protect all of us. So moving on, device management and information protection. Device management is the one that most people understand and are familiar with, right? That is, did I get the patch installed? Right, there was a security patch. Did I install it? Did I restart my machine, et cetera? That is basic device management. And so that is another part of the equation that anybody in this room, either your in-house IT staff or an outside provider, can help you with in order to be able to do really easy to operate device management. The balance of the equation here is not taking people out of their rhythm of doing their work, but still keeping your systems secure at the same time, right? And so there's a real art to that science to make sure that we have the best security possible, but we have the most productive users at the same time. And sometimes those are difficult to get together. So there's device management software for every device you can think of, including, if you haven't gotten there with your business yet, we would highly recommend you looking at device management for the mobile phones. So if you allow your employees to access corporate information via their phone, whether that's a phone you gave them or that's their own phone, or a mix of both, we would highly recommend, there's a lot of different software packages out there to help you manage what that phone can and can't do once it gets onto your network, right? That is a really easy point of access that cyber criminals are looking at, because your phone has direct access to your email, and your email has direct access to your internal servers. So that round trip is really easy for them if they can break into your phone. So again, there's lots of ways to do that are not intrusive to the end user. There's lots of ways that are what we call in the industry containerized, right? So it's contained to just your corporate applications that you allow them on their phone. So you're not looking at their personal pictures and things of that nature, right? That's a privacy problem. So we want to just contain it to managing the device as it pertains to what that phone can do on your network, right, with your company applications. So lots of help there, but again, those are things that are capable of being executed tomorrow. And then the last one is with, the last one on this topic, around information protection. So once you've got the device secured, then you want to secure the information itself, right? So a good example here, Microsoft Information Protection, it's actually looking on your network. This sounds a little Big Brother, but it's actually not that intrusive. It's actually looking and it's seeing, like the example here that I use is social security numbers, right? So you can install a corporate policy on the information protection service that says we only list the last 4 digits of a social security number. So anytime it sees the first 5 digits, right? Yes. The first 5 digits with the next 4, it's like, oh, that's a problem. So we'll do one of 2 things. It will either mask it automatically, or the better path is it sends it to an administrator and it says, hey, I think somebody might be exposing a social security number here. Right? And so that's an example of information protection where you're putting the right information in the right state so that in the event that something bad did happen, you're much better protected. If somebody stole a string of the last 4 digits of a social security number, the last 4 digits of a credit card number, et cetera, I mean, that's bad, but that's not the worst case scenario. It's not like they have the whole number. So you want to make sure that you're protecting the information appropriately so that those who need to see it only see what they actually need to see, right? So that's how we execute information protection. The last of the 4 is actually 4.5, is like a 4 plus 1 there. Thing is around endpoint protection. So we talked about device management as something to execute, and then we would highly recommend to step that up to full what the industry calls endpoint protection. So much like how the system is proactively monitoring your email to make sure that bad things aren't happening, that same type of technology is monitoring the system itself to make sure the bad things aren't happening. So the example here on the slide is if it starts to see that your computer is like pinging, or it's going to try to talk to all the other computers like simultaneously, that's a really obvious sign that some type of malware was installed on that system. So it will quarantine that system, right? It will just shut it down, if you will, from having access to anything else in your company. And so what it allows is it gives you time so that an administrator can go into that machine and say what actually happened here, right? Can uninstall the bad stuff, reload it, get you back up and running quickly. But endpoint protection is like taking device management to the next level and actually using things like machine learning and artificial intelligence to scan and monitor like what is happening and also to proactively start to address it. Like I said, so using the example, right, if it sees a bad machine on your network, it'll go quarantine it and not allow it to talk to anything else until you've fixed it or cleaned it up, if you will. So those are the 4 things which we talked about. So look at some easy to execute things around identity and access. Everybody's going to go get multi-factor authentication turned on when they get back to their office, right? Threat protection, make sure you have an email protection service installed. Information security, if you're in a business, especially where you are collecting really valuable information about a person. Birth dates, social security numbers, credit card numbers, these things are all important. Information protection, something we highly recommend. And then with the endpoint protection to kind of step up and make sure that you're not a target. The one thing, if you talk to, I think, any police officer, they will tell you what are the two things criminals are looking for? A way in and a way out, right? It's pretty basic human nature. So if you can make it harder for them to get in, so things like email protection, and then you can make it harder for them to get out, like the example of the endpoint protection, you've like quarantined that system, you are going to look not like a soft target, and they will move on to somebody that they think is. I was actually talking to my new friend Jessica next door, and both of us have the same vision, which is if we can make Montana look like a really hard target, then people can go somewhere else, right? So we don't want to make ourselves into an easy target. Not that anybody would do that on purpose, not like saying that, but just to take the steps which will get you in the position where you can make your company look like a really hard target, and somebody will go see if they can do something bad somewhere else. So it takes the technology, which we've talked about. It also does take the processes, somebody to actually run this, manage it, keep it up to date, whether that's internally or externally. And then it takes the people. The one thing I didn't really touch on, but it was written on most of the slides, is that there is a user training component to this whole thing. Right? So you do have to give people the 5-minute tutorial on how multi-factor authentication works. You need to give them access to a help desk for a few days until they get comfortable with it. Just using one example there, right? So the people aspect of this is also important. There's all kinds of canned online training out there that you can get access to teach people about what is phishing, right? Like, what are you looking for, right? You're looking for, like I said, that mismatch of the name that's in your inbox versus the actual email address itself, right? If it says it's from Wells Fargo, but then when you look at the email address, it's from Gmail, those are probably two different things, right? So you want to, so it's that basic people training, because the system, if it misses something, can't prevent a human being from clicking on it, right? We are all still the last line of defense in this equation. And so getting ourselves trained and knowledgeable is just as important. So if you'd like, we would love to help. I sit at the table and come ask me any questions you want. But we are a startup organization, like I said, based in Kalispell. And so what we do with our customers is we do a free consultation around not just this topic, but a couple of others. And then we will give you our recommendations on what could be better. Oftentimes what we do discover, just to let you know, the last one of these that I did last week, we actually found that our future customer was very mislicensed, like they had a bunch of duplicate costs that they were paying for. And when we trimmed that down, we actually allowed them to get a higher level security on their licensing, and they paid for all of our services and the savings that was incorporated there. So their IT budget remained exactly flat, and they got a bunch of different, and I would like to believe, better capabilities in doing so. So those are the things that we do in our consultation is, I would say most organizations, and it's through no fault of their own, have built together an IT infrastructure based upon I needed that thing at that time, right? Maybe stepping back and looking at it holistically and saying, what is my security profile in its totality? And do I have all the right things installed and in place to be able to help with that? So that's us, that's our contact information. We can leave this slideware with you afterwards. And so with that, I thank you for your time. Hopefully I kept it interesting and maybe even a little entertaining. I'm not sure. But we have, as promised, I knew I didn't have an hour's worth of content. If there's any questions, comments, feedback, I would love to take them. Bridger has a microphone.
Thank you very much. Obviously, this is on everyone's minds all the time. What 3 things would you recommend for us as takeaways that we should do to protect ourselves now?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting here with my device open. Are there 3 tips or 3 critical things we need to do?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you already had the key fob from whoever that's for, so you've kind of got one step ahead, and so it's back to the multi-factor authentication is really important, right? If you're a Microsoft or a Google customer already, it's already included in what it is that you purchase from them. So it's really a matter of turning it on, setting it up correctly, and then running it. So that's number 1. Number 2, we kind of touched on it at the end there. It's educating all of your employees. The interaction points that we have anymore with technology is really astounding. We have certainly blurred the line between home and work, and with the pandemic, we really blurred it, right? And so you never know where that person's going to access your corporate information from. Might be their home PC, might be their phone, might be the laptop you gave them, it might be the hotel kiosk here, right? And so you don't know, when that computer hits your network, what it is and kind of what state it's in all the time. And so preparing your people to understand their responsibility in this equation is really important. And then the last thing, you saw the statistics around phishing and malware attacks. I mean, it's insane. It's just constant. And so having email protection is something that's really quick and easy. Turn it on, get it installed, set it up. Most of it's entirely automated. So those are the 3 super low-hanging fruit, to answer your question. You can really honestly go execute next week if you haven't already. So thank you.
What suggestions can you give with all the apps on our phone? I'm sure there's a bunch of risks that I don't know about. Any comments on that?
Yeah, apps downloaded from the Pick Your Mobile Device store are the bane of all IT organizations' existence. Because oftentimes what's occurring is that you're using, I did it today, but out of necessity, I posted this presentation up on Dropbox so that I could share it with the folks running the presentation today. Now, there was nothing wrong with that. One, I'm the CEO, I can decide that myself. And there wasn't anything proprietary on it, but that capability is what scares IT organizations, right? Could you not just take a sales report and post it on Dropbox and send it to somebody and IT never knew about it? So as it pertains to your question about the mobile phones, that's why we really strongly recommend to our customers with mobile device management, without intruding on the personal side of what's on their phone, you can see everything that comes in and everything that goes out in terms of that customer or that user's interaction with your company data. And so what that allows you to do is, maybe Dropbox is a corporate standard that you want to use, and that's okay. But those systems will allow you to see what they downloaded and what they uploaded. So that in the event that something happened, you can very quickly remediate it because you know where it came from and you know where it went to. So to answer your question, I would say, moving to mobile device management will allow you to get some level of visibility and a level of control, because you can then install, not to pick on Dropbox, but they were just the answer or the example. You could say that that phone, right? Dropbox can't access our company network, right? So it's blocked. So if you see a high risk kind of door opening, you can block it using that technology so that you can kind of limit your threat vector. Yeah.
We have one at this table, David.
Yeah.
So just curious, in the event of that you're a victim of a ransomware attack, what steps should you take in trying to defend against that or correct that?
Yeah, it's, I mean, once it's happened, I'd love to stand here and say there was a better answer, but it's kind of over at that point. So you're basically down to, you can pay them to get access back to whatever it is that they locked out or stole. If you don't want to do that, then we're talking about remediation. And so what that means is, depending on what software they installed, and there's all kind of ranges of how bad this can be. You know, the worst case scenario is a total lockout where they just, like, you literally can't access any of the systems. We actually did this for a customer at Insight because they said, I don't care what it costs, I'm not paying these people. And so we had to do a complete reinstall of like 2,500 systems, like totally from scratch. Many of them actually wouldn't even take the reinstall, and so we had to buy a new system to replace it. So the way better course of action is to not allow it to happen in the first place, because once it happens, it's a big problem. But it really varies based upon what they stole and what they left behind. Like a total, we stole everything and locked you out of your systems. I mean, that is the worst case scenario. Fortunately, it's not that common, but it does happen. And so there really isn't a tremendous, like you can't just backdoor, you can't unhack what they hacked, I guess, is the easiest way to describe that. You're just kind of stuck with you either pay them or you kind of start over. It's not a pretty answer, but anybody else? Sure.
I'm curious about the apps again, but just a simple example. If you were going to go online and do your banking, would you do it on your computer or on the app on your phone?
Either way.
Because they're both secure as long as your device is secure.
Yeah.
If your phone's device is not secure, then they can see what's going back and forth, is what I thought I heard you say.
Well, so if they have hacked your phone, they may have installed malware. One of us is feedbacking here. They may have installed malware so that they can watch the traffic, right? That's what's called we didn't talk about it, but that's what's called a man-in-the-middle attack, right? They put a piece of software there so that they can watch it. Those are becoming less and less common, although they do happen because they're hard. Because the providers like Apple and Google with Android, right? They're installing patches to make that harder and harder and harder all the time. So those aren't super common anymore, but they can happen. So, you know, as long as you're on a network that you trust, right? Like if you go to a public place and log on to the public Wi-Fi, maybe be hesitant of that. But, you know, I trust AT&T is my service provider, and I trust AT&T is going to do the right thing. I mean, I have to. And so as long as you trust the network that you're on, you're going to be in good shape.
Got another one over here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Since we're talking about apps, do you recommend password managers or anything like that? On a personal level, more individual?
Yeah, I think, you know, there's software out there. You know, the password managers are an interesting one, only because, like, what happens if the password manager gets hacked? That's one to wrap your brain around. But you know, I think for the majority of there are definitely use cases. You know, people that are under constant attack. Large banks, large healthcare operators, folks like people that are just under constant barrage from the bad folks. For most small and medium businesses, I would say this is more of a policy scenario. You know, you can set up, again, back to that basic device management, you can set up that the password expires every 90 days or 60 days or 120 days or whatever. You know, we would recommend about 90 days. You just have to change your password, and again, it becomes a bit of an annoyance for the end user. But again, the answer to them is I don't care. what it does is it just makes it that much harder, right? Like if it's a moving target for the hackers, it's just one more thing that just makes it harder for them. So, and then, when you're creating those policies, there are things you can set up within the system that says you can't have more than 2 consecutive digits. Like you can do 1, 2, but you can't do 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And so you can set up all these policies, like it has to have a capital letter, it has to have some type of a punctuation mark, it has to, right? And the idea is, again, it's not foolproof, but it just makes it that much harder. So, yeah.
Was curious about email firewall protections, and I don't know how much you dive into this with clients that you have at Endpoint, but I kind of hear the spectrum on that. Like obviously companies like to have that protection so that some of these phishing emails don't even get in their inbox in the first place. But I hear from other folks, especially from some bigger companies, that get frustrated over the fact that they might be losing some important emails and don't see them at all because the sensitivities are so strong. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about like how you've seen email firewall sensitivities, like the advancement of that over time, and is it getting better that those folks who are frustrated about losing important emails can be optimistic about where that's going in the future? Or is that going to just be a constant battle?
Yeah. Now, full caveat disclosure: this is one person's opinion. However, what you're talking about is the predominant use of that scenario is when you are running your own email, right? With the advent of Google Workspace, with the advent of Microsoft Office 365, my personal opinion, there is no reason for a business to run their own email system any longer. Again, just my personal opinion. Because if you're running, let's pick Microsoft Office 365, all of that stuff you just described, they've already done for you, right? They're already scanning it. They're already looking for threats. They're already monitoring it because they're running email for millions of people simultaneously, right? So my opinion is that I would rather, in this game, the analogy I like to joke is like, this is the game where when you're in 6th grade, you want to bring your older brother who's the senior on the football team, right? I mean, that's what this is, right? I want to bring Microsoft to this dance. I want to bring Google to this dance, right? Because they're going to spend more on security in a day than this room will collectively in the next 10 years, right? That's just the reality of it. So I would say once you move to a cloud-based email system, a lot of what you just described. Now you do need to firewall your business traffic just to make sure that stuff's going on. But as it pertains to email, I just let the big guys do that for me. Anything else? I hope that was a little bit helpful, informative. I really appreciate the time. I'm just sitting at that table right over there. If you'd like to ask any questions you didn't want to ask in front of the group, there's no embarrassing. There are no bad questions on this topic, right? So I very much appreciate the time, and I am handing it over to whom to start our break. There we go. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, David. That was great information on a really, really important topic. So we're going to take one last networking break before we have our closing lunch ceremony. Please stop by next door to take the opportunity to talk to our vendors. Please be back here by 11:30 for the next part of the session. And again, we want to thank our sponsors and vendors for help making this event successful. At the gold level, we have Alexander Hutton, Boeing, First Interstate Bank, Montana State Fund, Northwestern Energy, and Stockman Bank. Our silver level sponsors are Century Gaming, Charter Communications, Montana Department of Transportation Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program, Montana Youth and Apprenticeship Partnership, Payne West Insurance, Pacific Source Health Plans, Washington Corporation, Washington Companies, and Western Security Bank at the copper level. First Call Solutions, Montana Electric Co-op Association, Montana Hydraulics, Sterling CRE Advisors, and Tohall. And our vendors here today are DIS Technologies, Montana Correctional Enterprises, Montana Department of Commerce, and UBS. Thank you again, and we will see you back at 11:30.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. We've got tight time frames we have to work on. We had hoped that we'd have Senator Daines here in person, but just like we like to blame everything on COVID here, I think that we'll let him blame Congress, and so he had to stay in Washington, D.C., but he is going to Zoom in live and present our manufacturers of the award, and so we've got him for a short window of time, and so we're going to do our best to try to keep on a tight time schedule here. So I think we have a drawing first. Why don't we go ahead and do a drawing real first from DIS Technologies. It's going to, has a drawing, want to, oh, $50 gift cards to Amazon, 2 of them.
Oh, great. $50 gift cards for Amazon. And let's see, I have Courtney Kibble-White.
Oh.
And let's see, Cole Mack. Cole.
Great.
That's easy. Cole's so close.
Thank you, DIS, for being here and being a vendor. We appreciate you all.
First call, we drew this last night, and then this is for Cole. It had happened.
If you don't take the tequila, I will.
It's vodka.
Oh, still.
Yeah. There you go.
Congratulations.
There you are.
Thank you.
Great, thank you all. As part of my duties as president and CEO, I am requested to give an annual report to the membership, and it's a report that looks back over the last year for our work at the Montana Chamber of Commerce. And as I got to thinking about this last year, it kind of struck me that it was almost like a fog of a year, right? They talk about the COVID fog that overcomes folks that get the COVID-19 disease, if you will. And it almost feels like the last year was kind of a COVID fog that affected all of us as business leaders and the entire state of Montana. And you think back, then it was just a year ago, but it seems like it was several lifetimes ago almost. At this time last year, Donald Trump was the president. In fact, it was only a couple weeks earlier that Donald Trump had gotten out of the hospital because he and the First Lady had been diagnosed with COVID. And so at this time a year ago, we didn't know who our president was going to be. It was a year ago at this time that we didn't know whether it was going to be a Governor Gianforte or a Governor Cooney. It was a year ago at this time that Steve Daines and Steve Bullock were locked in what was to be expected a nail-biter of an election that was going to be too close to call. It could be days before we know what the outcome of that election was going to be. That didn't happen, despite all the experts' predictions. And it was a year ago at this time that the legislature was starting to talk about how they were going to convene a legislative session in January of this year. And there was even talk about delaying having the legislative session until a COVID vaccine was available, because a year ago at this time we didn't have a COVID vaccine. And that was just within the last year. And so while it was only a year ago, it does seem like it was a lifetime or several lifetimes ago. There's a quote from the movie Dodgeball that I think is applicable here. There was a young amateurish team, and they were getting ready for a big dodgeball tournament, and so they brought in this crusty old coach to help them get ready for their upcoming dodgeball tournament. And the coach said, there's 4 rules to dodgeball: dodge, dive, duck, and dodge. And I feel like that's kind of what this last year has been, and particularly for us as an organization at the Montana Chamber of Commerce, is that we've spent the last year dodging, diving, ducking, and dodging. Nothing was certain. But despite it all, I think that the Montana Chamber of Commerce had an incredibly successful year, despite the ducking, the dodging, and the dodging that we did. Determined that we were going to work with whoever was elected governor, we went into the legislative session with a package that was prepared for a Governor Cooney or a Governor Gianforte, that we felt we had a package of legislation that a Governor Cooney could support or a Governor Gianforte could support. And as a result, we got passed and signed into law 4 unique Montana Chamber of Commerce bills that dealt with our first pillar of our strategic plan, which is business climate. We passed COVID liability protection for businesses so that if a customer or an employee contracted COVID at your place of business, that you would be free from litigation. We passed a trespasser liability bill that said that if someone was trespassing on your property and they were injured, they weren't entitled to sue you for their personal damages. And that applies not only to property owners as far as land, but it also applies to those of you that have equipment and have somebody maybe injured on a piece of equipment. We also passed significant changes to the Wrongful Discharge Act to make it easier for employers to make decisions that are a lot of times difficult decisions about the personnel that they hire and how it works with them. And this bill was particularly helpful for those small businesses that can't afford a big HR department or a team of lawyers to help them navigate the wrongful discharge. And we also passed a bill that dealt with phantom damages, that injured plaintiffs could only recover actual medical costs, not costs that they didn't incur, which is going to help all businesses across the state of Montana when it comes to insurance rates. So we also supported a number of really good bills as a second team player on those pieces of legislation that dealt with lowering taxes. We lowered the business equipment tax again, and a number of other important tax bills that were important to Montana. And we killed in a lot of bills that were bad for Montana businesses. And that was just the strategic plan that deals with business climate. On our next strategic pillar, infrastructure, the Montana Chamber of Commerce not only led the passage of traditional infrastructure investment like roads and bridges and highways and water systems to make sure that the goods that we produce in Montana can not only move freely around and efficiently around the state of Montana, but it can also access more densely populated markets outside the state of Montana. And we also expanded the investment in infrastructure to make sure that it includes broadband and high speed so that we can bring economic opportunity throughout the state of Montana. And we believe that this last year we've seen record investments in infrastructure, and the Montana Chamber of Commerce was leading those charges. Supporting entrepreneurship was another one of our key strategic pillars, because we recognize as business leaders that the key to Montana's economic recovery and to our growth is going to be keeping and maintaining that entrepreneurial edge that the state of Montana has, and that doesn't happen by accident. In 2017, we brought a program to the state of Montana called Youth Entrepreneurs. It's a national program that instills entrepreneurial thinking in high school students. And in 2017, when we started that program in Montana, we started with 7 teachers teaching youth entrepreneurs and the curriculum that program offers. At the close of the spring of this last year, we had more than 50 teachers teaching entrepreneurial skills to students across the state of Montana. Last year, we also started the first statewide business pitch competition for high school students, where we encouraged students to submit their business ideas, and then we recruited business leaders to judge those students, and we gave out over $50,000 in scholarships, cash prizes, and technology. Workforce development is our 4th and final strategic pillar, because we're never going to achieve the full economy that the state of Montana deserves unless we have a qualified, skilled, and appropriately educated workforce. Our Youth Entrepreneurs program not only instills entrepreneurial thinking, but it also reinforces the employability traits that employers say are lacking in applicants today, like critical thinking, problem solving, taking responsibility for your decisions, showing up to work on time. Those are all skills that we're teaching now in high schools in over 50 high schools across the state of Montana. And this summer we hired Tiana Yates, who was a high school teacher and a youth entrepreneur teacher in Colstrip, and so she is focused on bringing youth entrepreneurs to eastern Montana, rural Montana, and particularly focused on those career and technical education classes. The Montana Chamber was also identified as the business convener for federal ARPA dollars to make sure that we align education outputs with what employers really need in their workforce. Our job is to identify the jobs in the highest need in the state of Montana and to work with employers to identify specific skills and the specific training that can be achieved in a rapid fashion. We're working to create stackable credentials and certificates that can be delivered in short-term training courses and educational intervals designed to get students into the workforce with the flexibility to be able to return later and to continue their education. So despite the challenges and the ducking, the dodging, the diving, and the dodging that we had to do over the last year, we did make some significant advances for the overall business climate in Montana. And it wouldn't be possible without the entire staff at the Montana Chamber of Commerce, and I want to thank all of them, Bridger Malum and Stacy Dorrington, Matt Olson, Kimberly Casey, Michelle Skinner, Dee Durand, Tiana Yates, Peyton Dobbs, and Charmaine Rogers. I want to thank all of them for the great work that they do on behalf of the business community. And I also want to thank the Montana Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, in particular our chair, Paul Hopfoth, with MDU Resources, because it was through this year that the Montana Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, led by our chairman, kept the Montana Chamber of Commerce focused on what our key strengths were, kept us moving forward, despite the fact that we were dodging, ducking, diving, and dodging. And for this next year, the Montana Chamber of Commerce is going to prepare for the next legislative session, identifying legislation that continues to improve Montana's business climate. We're also going to be working very closely with the Gianforte administration on their Red Tape Commission to identify regulations that put Montana at a competitive disadvantage with other states. And working with the Gianforte administration's newly created Business Recruitment Unit, we're going to be working to recruit new business investment in Montana. On the workforce and infrastructure front, we're going to be working with the Department of Labor and the Department of Commerce and higher education system to build rapid training programs or ramp up existing programs that can help ensure that we have a workforce that's ready to put infrastructure dollars to work this spring. And our goal is to take the Youth Entrepreneur Program from the 53 that we ended this last year with to over 100 by the end of the next school year. As I close, I want to thank you as members and supporters of the Montana Chamber of Commerce. It's your support in dues and your financial support of our strategic plan that allow us to tackle the issues that are bigger than any one single company. It's your support that allows us to hire the additional lobbyists and attorneys to pass legislation designed to improve our business climate and to support appropriate infrastructure investment. It's your dues and financial support of our Envision 2026 plan that gives us the chance to expand programs that promote entrepreneurial thinking across the entire state of Montana and promote those employability skills that employers say are so lacking. And it's your financial support that gives us the resource and the gravitas to work with elected officials and government and education leaders to better align education outputs with employer needs. There's another quote from Dodgeball that I also think is applicable here. And that quote is, "If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball." And I think this last year, COVID was our metaphorical wrench. And the Montana Chamber of Commerce, with your support, dodged that wrench. Thank you all. So with that, I'd like to introduce the chairman of the board of directors of the Montana Chamber of Commerce, Paul Hoff, with MDU Resources to conduct the official part of our annual membership meeting. Paul?
Thank you, Todd. I have to admit, I didn't expect the dodgeball references. That was great. I will now call the annual membership meeting of the Montana Chamber of Commerce to order with the quorum present. Before we begin, will all the current directors of both the Chamber and the Foundation please stand for recognition? Minutes on the screen. You have the minutes of the last meeting before you, and I would ask for a motion and a second for their approval. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the minutes as stated, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, same sign. The motion passes. We would like to take a moment to recognize those who will be leaving our boards this year and for the commitment they have shown to the Montana Chamber and the Chamber Foundation. Termed out on the Foundation board is Don Cherry, Executive Vice President, Administrative Officer of Glacier Bank Incorporated. Leaving the Chamber Board of Directors are Shane Etzweiler, President and CEO of the Great Falls Chamber of Commerce, Amy Grimalius from Crawley Fleck, Amy Kellogg, co-owner of Simply 406, and Bill McGladry, who has served his 2 3-year terms on the Chamber Board and yesterday was appointed to the Foundation Board. And Richard Miltenberger, CEO of Montana Health Co-op. Thank you all for your service to the Montana Chamber. The following directors have agreed to continue serving for their second 3-year term. Michael Candelaria of Mid-Rivers Communication, David Hoffman with Northwest Energy, and Marcy Much with First Interstate Bank. Dr. Scott Elner with Billings Clinic and Colette Hansen were appointed to complete terms and are now eligible for their first 3-year term. In addition, we are proposing the following for their first full term of service on the board. Blair Fiesset, Vice President of Government and Public Relations with Montana Health Co-op, Dan Carter, Public and Government Affairs at ExxonMobil, and we will now open nominations from the floor. Nominations must have the consent of the nominee and written endorsement of at least 5 members. Are there any such nominations? Okay. Seeing none, can I have a motion and a second for unanimous consent? We have a move. Do we have a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. The Montana Chamber bylaws also allow the chair of the board to make 1-year appointments approved by the membership. As chair, I present to the membership the following 1-year appointments. Lanny Hubbard, President and CEO of Montana State Fund, and the newly elected president of the Montana Chamber Foundation. Christy Gee, president of the Belgrade Chamber of Commerce. Christy will represent local chambers on the Montana Chamber Board of Directors. And Matt Jones, executive director, public affairs with BNSF. May I have a motion and a second for unanimous consent? Moved. Do we have a second? Moved and seconded. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Welcome to the board. Congratulations to all our new directors, and we look forward to your service on the boards.
So one of the things I like to remind us of is the fortunate state that we live in, particularly when it comes to being able to access our elected officials. You think about other states and how hard it is for them to be able to talk to their United States senator or their governor. And most of us, if not all of us, have personally met our entire congressional delegation. And most, if not all of us, have met our newly elected governor, relatively newly elected governor. And at the Montana Chamber, we've got a good relationship with all of them. Just a few weeks ago, we had Senator Tester stop by our office and visit with us for a half hour, 45 minutes about some of the issues that they were working on in Congress. And we appreciate that sort of access and the sort of ability that we have to be able to interact with our elected officials. When you think about other states, you've got several layers of security and gatekeepers just to request a meeting, and you might not even, probably won't even get one unless you're on the right donor list. And we don't have that sort of a challenge here in Montana. Over the last decade, manufacturing has remained economically stable, with manufacturing employment input outpacing the state average. And recognizing that manufacturing's contribution to a Montana economy is important for our continued growth and success, the Montana Chamber of Commerce and the Montana Manufacturing Association joined together here today to present the 2020. Since we didn't have a 2020 annual meeting, we're going to give awards for the 2020 Manufacturer of the Year and the 2021 Manufacturer of the Years. While Senator Tester and Governor Gianforte were not able to be here with us today, they did take a minute to send us a pre-recorded message along with their congratulations. So we'll play those videos now.
Hello, and thank you for inviting me to share a few words with you today. And thank you to the Montana Chamber of Commerce for all that you do to support small businesses here in the Treasure State. I also want to congratulate the 2020 and 2021 Manufacturers of the Year awardees: Toll Hall in Belgrade, Montana Instruments in Bozeman, Toscano Machine in Big Timber, and Jeremiah Johnson Brewing in Great Falls. I appreciate all that you add to our state's economy, and I encourage you to keep leading the way as we show the rest of the nation that Montana is open for business. You can bet I'll be stopping by Jeremiah Johnson for a cold beer the next time I'm in Great Falls. But in all seriousness, the Chamber and its members have provided steady leadership in our state through what has been a tough 18 months. Montana's businesses have faced new and serious challenges as we work through the pandemic, and with your help, we found solutions to keep the lights on and start on the path to full economic recovery. While you've been doing your part to support local businesses on the ground, I was fighting hard in the Senate to help pass the CARES Act and the American Rescue Plan, legislation that helped many of you receive PPP funding, EIDL grants and loans, shuttered venue grants, and restaurant grants, providing targeted relief to small businesses and industries that were hit the hardest. Together, these bills provided nearly $4 billion in much-needed low-interest rate loans, many of which have already been forgiven by the SBA, to thousands of businesses across Montana, and more than $136 million in grant funding to small businesses, restaurants, and venues in the state. These bills help keep folks on the payroll and help mom and pop shops stay afloat. And we're continuing to see the positive impacts ripple across our state. Small businesses are the backbone of Montana's economy, and we need to ensure that they're able to not only recover from this pandemic, but continue to grow as we come out on the other side. That's why I also negotiated for months with my Republican and Democratic colleagues to pass my bipartisan infrastructure package through the United States Senate. This legislation will create good-paying Montana jobs. It will help us keep our competitive edge over China and make urgently needed investments in Montana's outdated infrastructure. Not only will it repair our crumbling roads and bridges to help make traveling and doing business easier and safer, it will also expand high-speed internet to nearly every corner of the state, allowing folks to do business from anywhere and spurring economic growth and opportunity for all Montanans. Now it's time for the House to pass this bill and get it to the President's desk for his signature, because we can't put off our infrastructure needs any longer. Thank you again for all that you do for the Treasure State, And with your help, I look forward to continuing to fight for Montana's small businesses. As your senator, please know that my door is always open.
Okay, and if we have a video from Governor Gianforte, we'll go ahead and play that now as well.
Good morning. Greg Gianforte here. I'd like to thank the Chamber for honoring some outstanding Montana businesses today. To our manufacturers, thank you for driving our state and our nation forward. As we lead Montana's comeback, we're focused on making our state more competitive and reducing the cost of doing business here. With more money in your pockets, you'll be able to invest more in your operations. We're also encouraging businesses to invest in their people. I know Montana manufacturers can compete globally, but we need more skilled workers. That's why we created the Montana Trades Education Credit, which will fund as many as 1,000 trade scholarships each year. As I meet with folks around the state, I continue to hear just how critical this program will be to empower our workforce with in-demand skills. To today's award winners, congratulations. You keep our economy going and are making an important difference. I appreciate your partnership as we work to make Montana an even better place to live, work, raise a family, and achieve the American dream. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me for anything. My door is always open. It's an honor to serve as your governor. Thank you for having me here today.
So at this point, we'd originally had another video lined up, but we have Senator Daines on Zoom standing by to join us, and we're going to switch over to bringing Senator Daines in to give a few remarks and then give out our Manufacturer of the Year awards. And again, it's another kind of testament to the small state that Montana lives in. It's been said that, you know, Montana is a big town with really, really long streets. And we have this unique opportunity to work closely with our congressional delegation on any number of sort of issues. And as Senator Tester pointed out, I think the entire delegation considers that their door is open to us as Montanans at any time. So we're almost there. This event here the last 2 days too has been kind of an exercise in fluidity. We've been trying to duck, dodge, dive, dodge again. So bear with us as we continue to try to be flexible for these interesting times that we live in.
All right, well, I'll jump in. Todd, thank you for all you are doing for the Chamber and your friendship and leadership over many, many years. I thought what I'd do is just give a brief update of what's happening here in Washington on issues that are probably most relevant. There's so much going on here in Washington that will have a significant impact on the short-term and long-term future of our great country. Let me start off by talking about an issue that I'm hearing a lot about when I'm back home in Montana, and that is President Biden's vax mandate. This has been Washington, D.C. overreach at its worst. I was hearing from Simpkins Howland, the lumber yard. Is the sound coming in okay? Just a sound check. Is it coming through okay? Good, okay, I'm getting a thumbs up. I'm gonna keep going. I grew up with the Simpkins family there in Bozeman, back when Bozeman was a sleepy little cow town with a university attached to it. Now, of course, like many communities in Montana, seen a lot of growth. But Tom Simpkins was relaying really the existential threat the vax mandate would be to their business. It's tough enough right now filling the jobs, so many help wanted signs up across our state. You add the vax mandate to that, what it would mean for our businesses. Truly, if you think we have supply chain problems now, this would be something that I can't imagine what we'll do in terms of the economy in harming Montana families as well as the rest of the country. So we're pushing hard, pushing back on that. I want to thank our governor, Greg Gianforte, for taking a firm stand to try to protect Montana from these vax mandates. And I'll just tell you where I'm at personally. I've had the vaccine. My wife's had the vaccine. The family's had the vaccine. I'm pro-vaccine, but that should be a decision made between yourself and a doctor or another healthcare professional. I don't want to see the mandates. That's what I'm opposed to. The other part of the DC policymaking that's that have a big effect on Montanans is the Democrats' reckless tax and spending spree. This is perhaps the largest spending bill they're proposing ever in the history of our country. It will be the largest tax increase in 50 years. It may be the largest tax increase ever at a time when inflation is now one of the single biggest concerns of so many Montanans. We're seeing what's going on with energy. 100% increases in natural gas prices in the United States since the first of the year. 75% increases in gasoline costs, oil prices going up, at a time when President Biden canceled the Keystone XL pipeline, but he gave the green light to Putin on the Nord Stream pipeline, which is natural gas into Europe. And now you have the President of the United States next week going to Glasgow to talk about climate change when we have got major problems here in our country with rising energy prices. Europe is facing an existential threat because they moved too fast in terms of their renewable portfolio, decommissioned nuclear plants, took away coal-fired plants, and Europe now faces what could be one of the roughest winters they've ever seen because of a shortage of energy. We can't let that happen to our country as we have led the world on CO2 reductions. It's China is the problem. They have 3 times the CO2 emissions as we have. And so this is one of the great big battles we face here, making sure we have a balanced energy portfolio that assures that we have reliable and affordable energy. It just takes one Democrat senator to stop this, just one. And I'm just hoping we will see a Democrat senator. Manchin and Sinema have been very helpful trying to slow down this incredible nonsense because that's all it takes. Every single Republican's opposed to this. We just need one Democrat senator to be opposed to it, and we can really change the course of history. Another big issue is this proposal the president has had, and Pelosi and Schumer, to have the IRS report on every transaction of $600 or more. That is a huge problem in terms of invasion of privacy. They're talking maybe up to $10,000 now, but that would be a cumulative number over the course of a year. Very easily, that means the IRS is invading the privacy of most Montanans' bank accounts. We're pushing back hard on that. So that's some of the issues we're fighting for back here to try to stop this massive overreach of government that is already starting to have a detrimental effect on our economy, and to rein in the spending and this massive debt that we're seeing being run up here in Washington. So that's a quick update on what's going on in DC. I want to thank everybody in the room who are on the front lines of growing businesses. It's where I came from for 28 years, and I appreciate what you all are doing here. We're doing all we can here to make sure you have what you need here to keep growing your businesses, creating good, high-paying jobs across Montana. Todd, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Senator Daines. And I'd like to have Scott Senior come up and join me. Scott is the market president and executive vice president of Rocky Mountain Bank, and he's also the chair of the Montana Manufacturing Association. The senator's got a very compressed time frame here, and so we're going to roll through this rather quickly. We're being flexible as we need to be with the time frame we have to deal with. Unfortunately, as I noted earlier, we were not able to award a Manufacturer of the Year last year because we weren't having any in-person events. And so this year, we're going to award the Manufacturer of the Year for 2020. And then the board for the Montana Manufacturing Association decided this year that in order to recognize the diverse amount of manufacturing that's actually going on in Montana, that we'd expand some of the categories. So this year, we're going to be also recognizing 2021 award winners in the newly created categories of Innovator of the Year, Value Added Agriculture Manufacturer of the Year, and Startup Manufacturer of the Year. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Senator Daines.
All right. Hey, Todd, thank you. Well, it's my pleasure to be presenting these awards today. And this is for the 2020 Manufacturer of the Year. Of course, because of COVID, this award's being given a year later. But let me talk about this winner, and it's Tow Haul, located in Belgrade, very close to my hometown of Bozeman. Founded in 1983, Tow Haul designs and manufactures custom heavy-duty off-road trailers for the mining industry. These dual-purpose trailers towing and hauling, decreased costs, increased mobility in open pit and surface mines around the world, making tow haul market leaders and setting them apart from competition. And not only is tow haul environmentally friendly and conscious, but over 90% of the supplies are sourced locally, and they only use USA steel. And I had to chuckle here a little bit because this award is going to one of my classmates from high school. So big congratulations to Kim Wild and the tow haul team.
Let me just come right up. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, great job. Thank you.
Oh, a beautiful award.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Steve. It's nice to see you. I don't know where I'm supposed to wave. So we're grateful and we're very honored to receive the Manufacturer of the Year award. Tow Hall's been in the community a long time, and we have over 70 employees now, 73. We've been hiring recently again, so 73 employees. Like Steve said, we get all of our steel, U.S. mill-run steel. We'll wait 3 months to get it, but that's what we do. And I think, Joe, how much steel did we cut last year? I'm thinking it was
over 2 million pounds.
It was upwards of 2.5 million pounds of steel we cut just last year. And we also are huge advocates of manufacturing, and we've been promoting manufacturing across the nation and the trades. And we're doing that by, one way is to, we're underwriting a TV show called Reconnecting Roots, and you'll see our 30-second ad at some point here of how we're promoting that across the nation. If anyone wants to jump on board with us to do that, please let us know. It's not hard to underwrite that TV show and get the word out. So,
Great. Thanks,
thank
Kim.
you so much.
Great, thank you.
This is Joe is our production manufacturer and our production manager, and I didn't know if you had any facts to tell him. This is beautiful.
Really want to thank the Montana Chamber of Commerce and the Montana Manufacturing Association for this award. It's an honor, truly. Tow Haul also recently received the 2021 Montana Employment Council Employer of Choice Award. The combination of these two awards really speaks to the people and the culture at Tow Haul. We all work really hard to create and maintain a highly informed, continuously improving, low-drama work environment. The key in that last statement is the low-drama piece, and we accomplish that through a culture of integrity, respect, and simply being nice to one another, both on an individual level and a company level. Our founder, Frank Smith, put us on an excellent path by showing us that if we take really good care of our people will take really good care of our company and our customers. It's been a winning strategy for the last 30 years and something we look forward to carrying on for the next 30 and many years beyond. Thank you.
Joe.
Thank you very much.
Ready.
Okay. So the next award is for the 2021 Innovator of the Year. And that is the company Montana Instruments, who I had a chance to visit their operation just earlier this year. This company was founded in 2010 in Bozeman. It's being recognized as the 2021 Innovator of the Year. Montana Instruments, and there is an amazing story. If you want to talk about some brilliant Montanans who are on the cutting edge of quantum physics and quantum computing, it's these folks. They design and manufacture cryogenic research instruments, including high-precision electrical, optical, and cryogenic systems for quantum materials research and quantum computing, sensing, and networking industries. Over the past decade, the company's developed a very broad product line of standardized offerings for researchers, as well as the capabilities to produce custom designs for specialized applications. Montana Instruments innovations are significant to technology advancement because the equipment helps scientists accelerate quantum materials research. And this in many ways could be the next Sputnik race. This time it's with the Chinese. Who's going to break the code here on quantum first? And because what we have going on in Montana, that being a big part of it, so congratulations to Montana Instruments founder Luke Moritzen and CEO Mark Carroll.
Congratulations. I appreciate you guys being here. Yeah, thank you. You want to say a couple quick words? We've got just a minute or two.
I'll be real brief, and I really want to give Mark a chance to talk about the company a little bit. My name's Luke Moritz, and I did found the company. Had a great opportunity to go to MSU, get an engineering degree, and then go out and get my first job and learn how to spell cryogenics. Well, it turned out cryogenics was pretty important for quantum information science, which is turning into the next kind of global race right now. So we've built a great company over the last 10 years. I ran it for 10 years and then had an opportunity to bring in a real professional to take really the company to the next level. And that's what we're doing now. So Mark Carroll is our CEO.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you for this honor. We really appreciate it. I would just say, piggybacking on what Luke said, I started my career really in the Silicon Valley, and I've worked all over the world, literally, I think on all continents. The thing that's always brought me back to Montana has been just the integrity of everybody, that people take responsibility, and they don't get stuck. You know, we used to have these stories of some of the ranch kids that we'd hire, and a lot of times people would say, well, I can't get this done because of that. Well, that didn't really happen in Montana. They'd figure it out, and we'd get stuff done. So it's been really a pleasure to work in Montana over the last 15 years. This is the third company that I've been a part of, all the high technology companies. I started in the laser industry. But it's been a blessing to work for Luke. He's taught me a lot about humility, having a founder bring a company to a certain level and then hand over the reins to me. He's taught me quite a bit, and it's really been a blessing this past year, and we're just having a blast over there. So, thank you.
Most of us probably don't even know what that introduction was, right? Quantum, but it's fascinating that's going on here in Montana. So I think we're ready for the next award.
All right, so this next award's for the 2021 Startup of the Year. And the winner is Toscano Machine, located in Big Timber, Montana. I shot my first antelope and deer just north of Big Timber in the mid-'70s. Thrilled to see Big Timber here on the map. They were founded in 2019. Toscano specializes in custom precision machining and prototyping. And one of the unique aspects of the shop is that it combines some traditional high-volume lathing and milling with leading-edge 3D printing and other advanced additive manufacturing to provide a broader mix of services. The company's vision includes a commitment to building parts in the U.S. I'm hearing that recurring theme here today, and specifically to support job creation in rural economies like Big Timber. The company offers an apprenticeship program with on-the-job training and sponsors a vocational education program for high school students to learn basic shop skills. And then to advance manufacturing innovation, Toscano Machine participates in research partnerships with the MSU College of Engineering, Carnegie Mellon University, and the National Tooling and Machining Association. So a big congratulations to our visionary, Wesley Toscano.
Congratulations again. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Very well said. Couldn't have said it better myself. It was a really great recap, so I'll keep it short. Just thank you to the Montana Manufacturing Association and the Montana Chamber of Commerce. Really appreciate the honor of being awarded this. Started out 5 years ago not even knowing what I was doing in this industry. Didn't know what a thousandth of an inch was. And basically, due to injury working, I had to find a new career. Got into machining, and basically been self-taught from there. So trying to broadcast that out to our local youth. If I can do it, they can do it. And along with our apprenticeship program and our community support, we've been really successful moving it from my garage to a 14,000 square foot facility. So thank you once again.
All right, the last award is for the value-added agriculture manufacturing. This is a company that's founded in 2012 as the Front Brewing Company. This Great Falls company was purchased and rebranded in 2018 as the Jeremiah Johnson Brewing Company, producing award-winning craft beers using barley grown in the Golden Triangle, fresh water from the Missouri headwaters, and other locally sourced ingredients. I'm getting thirsty just reading this. Montana natives Jeremiah and Katie had a goal of growing a line of beers with clear ties to the state's ag and our agricultural heritage. In just 3 short years, the company's achieved tremendous growth, producing an estimated 10,000 barrels every year, 7 canned beers for retail markets in Montana, Wyoming, Washington, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Idaho, and specialized beers available on tap in bars and restaurants in those states, plus Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, and the greater Las Vegas area. So a big congratulations to Jeremiah and Katie Johnson.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremiah.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Well, wow. Thank you, guys. It's a great honor. Thank you, Senator. You know, it's kind of hard for me to believe that I'm even up here in front of all you. It wasn't too long ago that I was attending this luncheon in my economic development career, which I did before making the jump to brewing. Just a huge honor. I thank you guys in Montana and Great Falls particularly. I believe it's the source of the world's best barley malt being produced, and we're taking that ball and running with it, making great beer for everyone to enjoy. Huge honor for me and my wife, also for our employees and our business partners. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Scott. I think if the Senator wants to give a couple of closing remarks, we'll be good.
Todd, thank you. And I couldn't be prouder of the awardees today. Thank you for all you're doing for Montana. I want to thank the Chamber again. I love your slogan there, driving results that matter. It's great. Keep up the great work, and please let us know anything we can do back here to make your jobs easier back home. Thanks so much, and God bless you.
Well, I think the challenge that we had at the Montana Manufacturing Association was trying to narrow down the different categories, because it's such a diverse amount of manufacturing that's happening in Montana, from our traditional natural resources to the most advanced technologies in the world. And a lot of times I think in this economy, we fail to recognize some of the great things that are going on here in Montana. And we're building ourselves to the economy that we as a state deserve after so many years of kind of bumping along the bottom. I think that there's great opportunity and great strength for the state going forward. And the Montana Manufacturing Association and the manufacturing industry in the state of Montana is going to drive that economic growth going forward. So thanks again. I want to congratulate again our winners this year. For our manufacturers of the award, I want to thank the Montana Manufacturing Association for their support. And I believe that concludes our annual meeting. I want to thank you all again for joining us today and bearing with us as we work through some of the technical challenges that come with this weird sort of COVID year that kind of continues to hang on us. Thanks again to all of you for your support.
Hey,
and being
Todd,
Yeah.
just real quick, just a quick reminder for those award winners. Please meet us in conference room 5 across the hall at the conclusion of this so we can get some pictures taken. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, Bridger.